Hey guys, what's up? This is Mel, and we're talking about legacies today. This time it's a little different. I know it's kind of been sad since the finale has aired, but I thought why not do something a little different? So today we're gonna rank the seasons. Not just last time I did seasons 1 to 4, but we're gonna talk about the specific storylines or the chapters within these seasons. And I'm not doing it alone today. I brought my friend Amber along with me, who's gonna be ranking along with me. So heads up, I do not know how long this video is gonna take. We all know from my other videos, I cannot keep time as well as I think I can. But with Amber, there is no telling how long we're going to talk about this, though. But Amber, I want to say hello to everybody.
Hi, my name's Amber.
We,
It's a pleasure.
of course, if anything, if anyone who has been following along, especially with my Legacies videos, Amber and I both met during the screenwriting program that I was taking. It would have been when season 2 would have aired for Legacies, if anyone wants to know a little timeline of when that happened before the whole pandemic thing happened. But before we truly get started and dissect what we're going to do in this video, huge spoiler alerts and disclaimers. Spoiler alert, not only for Legacies itself, if you haven't seen the full series, if you haven't seen episode 420, I suggest you go do that first because there's going to be spoilers in this. And if you know any of my videos, I'm going to not only talk about Legacies, but Vampire Diaries is going to come up. The Originals is going to come up. So huge spoiler for those two shows as well, because I can go on tangents, things could be connected, who knows. So huge spoiler for that. Also, what is shared in this video is going to be either my own personal opinions about these storylines and Amber's own opinions about these storylines. They could be the same, they could be different, but they are our opinions. If they differ from your own, that is great. We'd love to hear why they differ and how they differ in the comment section down below. Also, if we like any particular characters that have done some questionable things, that does not reflect if we would like those same type of qualities in someone in real life. This is just a fantasy world. I feel like I always have to say that when it comes to talking about the Vampire Diaries franchise. So let's just get that out of the way. And I know that Amber is laughing right now because you
Yep.
know that is true.
Yeah.
All right.
There's some
So,
questionable things when it comes to relationships in
yes,
Vampire Diaries.
that is very true in the case. So, what are we going to talk about in this video? So, give everybody a heads up. As I said before, we're going to talk about the different chapters or the storylines featured in the 4 seasons of the of Legacies. I'm about to say Vampire Diaries. In Legacies, there's about 13 of them. These are all thanks to the website Legacies Wiki. Google that. They're the go-to website I go to for anything detail related for this franchise. They're the ones that were labeling these chapters. They also provided the episodes that belong to these chapters that were really helpful in trying to narrow down how exactly these storylines kind of came to be. So link for that website is down below in the description box, but we're going to go through the chapters as we finish a season. We're then going to share with each other our top favorite episodes for each season. Amber prepared her list beforehand. I prepared mine, but we have not shared it with each other. So it'll be very interesting to see if we have the same ones in common or if we have any different ones. So we're going to do that as we go along. We're going to do everything chronologically. And I'm going to be the pink boxes, as you see on screen. Amber is the blue boxes. And we're going to go back and forth and rank them in the 5 categories you see above us. The goal is to only have 3 of each of our colored boxes in each row max, because we actually want to create a list today. So either what we're looking for, rewatch worthy. Amber is going to be, do you like that story enough that you would see episodes in that multiple times? Great. It's kind of like you could do things a little better, but it's still a good quality storyline. Good would be more of like maybe neutral. It's like it's had its good points, but it's like you're still okay with it showing. It had its moments. It could kind of go either way for you. If it's like it was either good, either bad. Don't really know. Meh could either be you forgot about what the storyline was about. You didn't really care for it. It's kind of like that's like your F rating kind of a storyline.
Oh, okay. I had a bunch of those in mind. It's not on a list, but I can think of it. I can think of some episodes like that kind of fit that category. So
Yeah. So if anything, we're going to see if any storylines fit into those categories. So let's start. We're getting off topic. Where would you put the end of Malivore chapter on the ranking? this one we got to see the first episode showed not only Malvor being a prisoner while still being in Landon's body, but we got a bit of backstory of how Alaric met Caleb before bringing him to the Salvador school. We got their attempt to try to put Malvor into Ryan Clark's body and getting him out of Landon's body. And then we got the episode of Hope being human one last time with Freya's return in that episode. And then we got the fight between Malivore and Tribert Hope in what would have been the season 3 finale, but as episode 404. Where would you put that?
Wait, isn't that chapter like also where like Hope like, oh wait, no, never mind. Would it? No, wasn't like that episode, like that chapter where Hope transfers blood to another Landon.
Not to it, not to another Landon. It would have been to Ryan Clark. That would have been 402, where she was trying to put Malivor's essence from Landon into Ryan Clark's body because he too was also a golem, but then he was kind of made human. So she was trying to do that, but it fails, and then that's how Malivore kind of breaks free and escapes the school.
But then there's the Landon that had like this light in his chest, kind of like Iron Man.
Isn't that the Golem Landon though?
Yeah,
or
the
you mean like
the nice version.
Simulandon, Simulation Landon?
Yeah.
I think that was earlier. I think that was in an earlier season because that was when she was trying to trick Ryan Clark. Because he was,
Okay.
I think it was earlier because that's when she was trying to trick him, and then that ended up with him being. I think that had to have happened before the cult episode because he had to get trapped because the cult episode resulted in him being resurrected again.
Oh.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember what.
Wait, what's the chapter? For this one?
This one is the end of Malivore chapter.
So what's the episodes?
Episode 401, 402, 403, and 404.
Okay. Okay.
I know I am tempted to put it in good.
Yeah.
Then I'm maxed out at good.
Yeah, I would put it in good too.
Whoops. All right. So you as well. So I believe, are you maxed out then?
Am I? Yeah.
You're maxed,
I am.
And I'm maxed out too. Alrighty then.
I might move it though.
Yeah, we have 3 more chapters left. So next chapter is the humanity chapter, which takes place from episode 405 to episode 409. So essentially it's Rebecca's episode where she finds Hope with her humanity, all the way up to when Hope killed Lizzie and turned her into a heretic, or turned her into a vampire witch hybrid. So with that, we also got to see Hope visiting Ryan Clark. We got to see Landon being in limbo, and also Lark being in limbo. We got that Salvatore idol where the students try to list reasons why Hope was so great to try to turn her humanity back off, and it didn't work. We get Josie having therapy box time and seeing like a Grey's Anatomy type of a situation for her.
Oh,
and
God.
That leads her to wanting to leave the school to try to find a way to get Hope to switch her humanity back on. And also that's where Aurora body swaps with Hope in that episode.
Yeah. I would say rewatch worthy.
Rewatch worthy for that one?
Yeah. Because we had oh shit, I forgot her name.
Aurora?
Yeah, we had her.
Mm-hmm.
We had Rebecca for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
We finally saw like Limbo with Alaric and everything.
Yeah.
That was I really liked the production on that episode and the episodes to come because of Limbo. Like that was like really cool to see, and kind of like, you kind of like see the characters differently in those scenes, and I like that. I did not like the Grey's Anatomy episode. I thought it was, I don't know, I just didn't like it. And I just didn't like how the only thing I don't like about this chapter is I didn't like how they kind of send off Josie. They could have done it better.
Yeah. It was weird how it was a manifestation kind of a situation when her with her and Lizzie's goodbye. It's like
Yeah.
while Lizzie was in transition was how she was able to talk with her dead twin. That was kind of weird. But I
Yeah.
will agree that I would put this chapter as rewatch worthy just because it was nice to see Hope actually. I think within this chapter alone, she destroyed the triad. Like she eliminated the alpha werewolf of triad. She got rid of the main witch that controlled all the spells for it. She got down to finding Aurora, and then seeing them
Right.
body swap was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So, and then
That's
just
that's a good episode.
seeing a huge, and then of course Rebecca, obviously, but just seeing how different she is without her humanity was just like a huge change. And it was also just seeing her as a tribrid. I mean, yes, at times I think for the whole season she relied more on the witch element than anything, but I know like in this, at least this humanity chapter, we did see more vampire Hope. I mean, yes, we see the tribrid Isaac her, but we never see her actually like drinking blood or chomp down on like someone's
Yeah,
or
that's the
anything like
thing that
that.
I never liked. Like, I was like, when I first watched Legacies, like season three, I was like, when is she finally going to become a vampire and like activate her like tribe, And like when she does, like she hardly uses that side, and I'm like, I'm so pissed.
It just looks the same way. It only
Yeah,
maybe the one chance of speed as a vampire or like
yeah.
the strength, maybe possibly.
It's like she never really changed.
Yeah, it's only attitude wise. That's the only downside I had. It's just, but then also they always only focus on the witch side of her. They
Yeah.
always ignored the werewolf side of her. And now it's like the kind of vampire is also
I
in
mean,
it.
there are moments where she is using her werewolf side, like she's like transforming into the wolf. There's some scenes where she does that.
Yeah,
Um,
but if you remember, Haley was able to transform at will and only parts of herself. She didn't have to fully transform into wolf. And same with Klaus. They could control when they change and how much they change.
yeah,
But for Hope, it was always all or nothing. And of course, they only associated her turning when it was a full moon and she had that desire. But then they didn't feature the full moon that often on the show, anyways. So it's like they didn't talk about her being able to create more hybrids. They didn't talk about her blood being able to heal werewolf bites on vampires. Like there's a whole bunch of aspects of her being a tribrid that they never really touched upon that could have
mm,
gone a long way in helping them defeat or even figure out a bunch of other stuff as well, or even
yeah,
powering different spells. I mean, they did it, yeah, when she was just a witch, but and then later on when she was a witch and a werewolf. But as a vampire, she should be able to do a lot more powerful spells than just the smaller stuff she was just doing, like Incendia or like moving things. It was just it was kind of a disappointment at times to not see the full potential of what she could do.
yeah,
But okay, so both the humanity chapters are rewatch worthy. So we got two each up there. Now we got the Aurora chapter, which is 6 episodes, going from episode 410 to 415. So that is 410 being Ben introducing the idea of the gods. This would have been after the holiday break when we came back in February. And then it ended with 415, which is the Michelson reunion in New Orleans. So this is where we had Hope's humanity actually coming back with 415. So we had a good 10 episodes with no humanity Hope. But from this, we got more of bonding with Lizzie, vampire Lizzie now with Hope being sired together, getting over. I will say this, I didn't expect to get Aurora as much as we did. I thought
yeah.
it was just going to be episode 9 or 8 and 9, and that would be it. But to have her, she's actually in half the episodes of the season, which I was completely surprised about.
But you know what bugs me when she was in Legacies is that in when Hope was in Originals, she said this saying where like, oh, we have this redhead in this room. We'd have no idea what to do with her. How the heck does and that was
It
that
was
was
explained or explained.
it
Like,
was?
yeah, it in during that dinner because I think Hope actually remembered, like, weren't you in? And it was she had the triad with the vampires go in and steal her body. I think yeah, I think that's how she explained it. It was during a moment like after Klaus had died or something where like the family wasn't really paying attention to go in and steal the body and revive her. She says it initially because I know Hope was very casual about mentioning no humanity and such, asking her like, "Weren't you that wall ornaments and stuff?" So it's just like her trying to like remind her what her importance to Klaus was. But they
Hmm.
did explain it. But like, yeah, just to see. For me, I actually enjoyed Aurora a lot more than I thought I would
Yeah,
just
same.
from not only her antagonism towards Hope, but also the bonding between her and Lizzie. I was not expecting that at all, but
Yeah,
it fit so well for
it
that.
did.
The only time Aurora got like Aurora was good for me up until the point where she started sleeping with Ken.
Oh yeah.
And like I get it, the two actors are married, but still for me, it's like no.
Wait, they're married in real
Yeah,
life?
they're married in real life. Yeah. And I knew that before watching. So I don't know if that is what said when me like, no, you're just utilizing what like the fact that it's a pandemic and the two of you are actually living together to do these scenes. And versus like if like, well, since you just found out now, did that paint any it differently for you when you were watching the two of them get together?
No.
You still didn't like
Like,
it.
no, I mean, I thought it was a very interesting concept between the characters.
Hmm.
Um,
Maybe
and I
that was
kind of,
me then because I saw the actors first and I was just like
yeah,
all I see is that
I
and
did
not
not know
the
that they were
character.
married.
Yeah, they were.
I thought it was an interesting concept because you can kind of like it kind of like see you can kind of see that the god, what was his name again?
Ken, I don't like it. Ken.
Was it Ken?
Yes,
Wait,
because
what was his
no,
son's name then?
the son's name was Ben, who had a
Okay.
half sister named Jen, who both share a father named Ken. Like I had a whole issue with that throughout the whole second half of the season where I'm like, why? Why? Like we're told in screenwriting school not to name characters so similar
Yeah,
together because it would just cause confusion. Here you have one
exactly.
letter of a difference between these three characters. And I'm like, what the hell is this? This makes no sense to me.
No wonder I kept forgetting their names.
Exactly. It's like, why not just call them like Benjamin or like Jennifer or like Kendall or something? Like, do the full name. Why only refer to them as Ken, Jen, and Ben?
Yeah.
Makes no
Anyway,
sense.
like just I liked the concept between them together because you kind of see that
Mm-hmm.
like Ken um
Mm-hmm. Just say
was kind of
father
like
of the gods. Father of the gods.
father of the gods was kind of like using her and kind of
Mm-hmm.
it's revealed later on his tactics
Yeah.
kind of like telling like girls he meets when he wakes up like you are my queen just so that he uses them to kind of get used to the world
The
or whatever.
the daughter laying that out to Aurora was just hilarious because like
Yeah,
I kind of figured that's what he was doing and
yeah,
I understood why Aurora would side with him. Like character wise, it made sense. But for me, it seemed very quick of an exchange to happen because I didn't believe as a
yeah,
god what kind of appeal would he have to her kind of a thing. It's especially if she's so against like he kind of reminded me of Klaus, like very early on
yeah.
Klaus. So it's like if she already has this hatred for Klaus, why would she still go to a man very
But
similar to him?
it's
So it's
revealed
like,
that it's revealed that she kind of still loves him, like Klaus.
yeah. But then
Which
also, why would you go to him then? Because he's not Klaus, right?
yeah,
If you still love the guy, you'd have loyalty to the guy, right?
yeah.
But so like that was an interesting dynamic, I'd say, to see all that progression and then for her to throw it out the window because of Ken. And I was just like, but I
Yeah,
love that she redeemed herself at the end when she sacrificed. We're kind of combining chapters here, but
that's
when she
why I kind of like
sacrificed.
the concept between them two
Mm-hmm.
because kind of like she goes back to kind of being her old self, and then and towards the end, she kind of has that redeeming qualities, those redeeming moments when she's like what trying to help Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I like the concept.
Yeah.
Unlike you, I guess.
Well,
You thought it was weird.
I just, yeah, for me, it was just I don't know if it's because I already knew and I only saw the actors in that though, or maybe it was just too fast. Like it just felt like
Yeah.
it was happening all very quickly, as opposed to like in just as an episode or two, it was happening, as opposed to like everything else was drawn out too long. And this one felt like it was happening too quickly for me.
Yeah, I think which just goes to show that like
Pacing.
Legacies has trouble finding its like pace and like a good balanced pace between storylines.
Yeah, because I know where the Gods chapter, which is 5 episodes from 416 to 420, which is the finale, it still kind of picks off the ending of Aurora. But Aurora, I would say, was probably the one character who came from the other shows to
Mhm.
have an actual decent storyline and a decent amount of coverage. Because like
Yeah.
even though there were some episodes where we maybe only got one scene with her or we checked in to see what she was doing, we still knew the path she was going down and what motivated her. I think we talked about more about her brother and what had happened from Klaus, what he did to her. Through there was like no like skirting around it. It was full on referenced and like stated like what it was instead of the one like subtle hint. If you knew what they were talking about, you'd pick up on it. But if you didn't watch the other two shows, it just fly over your head
Mhm.
kind of a situation. So even though I mean, at this point, after everything they've come across, gods would be the next natural step of it. But I'm still kind of annoyed that there's still technically 4 gods out there that we will never know about. And apparently, season 5 was going to talk about Cronus, who was mentioned as the god of time, but there were still 4 sarcophagi. There was Ken's sarcophagus, there was Jen's, and there was 2 others. And then Cronus was never in a coffin, also very similar to what Klaus did. So who are the other 2? They never
Yeah.
got to answer that. So that's like one of the things that kind of peeves me off. Before we go any further, though, what would you put the Aurora chapter as?
I would say great because there's the next chapter. I think it's gonna be the last chapter. I already know where I'm
Mhm.
gonna put it. I would say great.
Okay, so that is your.
And there are some rewatch worthy episodes, I would definitely say. But if I put that
So your
as
great is at 3 then.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Where would I put 410 to 415? Where can I put it first off? Re- I think I might have to do, for me, I think it's rewatch worthy for the Aurora chapter, which maxes me out.
Really? Okay. Yeah, that makes yeah, I would if I had more room, I
The
would do.
reason the reason I think that is just because we got to see the different dynamics with Hope and Lizzie now being sire bonded. We got to see uh the growing bond between Lizzie and Aurora as well too. And on the side, we got the development of Ben and Jed. Um, while also for that also we only got a bit of monster. We only got the proto clown, that killer clown as a monster. We only got the vampire carnival hunter thing as one that Lizzie and Hope dealt with. So that's 2. And then everything else was related to the god storyline. Like even the whole battle strategy, like battle simulation they did with Professor Artemis in episode 14, that was still related to the gods. And then episode 15 was the Michelsons, which later on did reflect back on the gods because they needed Hope to have her humanity back. So out of the 6 episodes, only 2 of them were monster related, which I feel like that is the better balance of the mix, I guess you would say, with serialized versus the episodic. So for me, it would have to be. Plus, also no humanity hope and that struggle because I think now we are seeing humanity hope hallucinations too.
Yeah, yeah.
Although the downside for that though, the hallucinations of humanity hope very CGI. Like you could tell it like it was CGI
With the
when it
split screen?
yeah, like you could tell like just either the way that they were editing around her to kind of get out of the green screen part of it, it was obvious like it didn't match the same type of lighting or like the same type of texturing, and it was just like I've seen other projects where you know it's a split screen but you can't tell it's a split screen,
Mhm.
so that was a disappointment there. But
Now I feel like I want to put humanity as great, and then then 10 to 15 as like rewatch because of you know, forget her name all the time. What's her name again?
Aurora.
Yeah, her. I keep forgetting her name. Yeah, just because of that. Ugh, I don't know. Yeah, you know what? I'm probably gonna switch it to that as like rewatch worthy, and then Humanity as great because there were some really good moments in Humanity in that chapter. Because you got Rebecca, you got like
Okay.
yeah, you got Rebecca.
Wait, so are you switching Humanity and Aurora? So now it's Aurora at rewatch worthy and Humanity at great, or are you putting them both in rewatch worthy? Because you had two.
You know what? I'm gonna put 10 to 15 as rewatch worthy, and then the Humanity chapter where she like loses her humanity as great.
Okay, so this one's great. All right, so you're still at two for rewatch worthy.
Yeah, yeah.
And great, are you still you're maxed out now for great.
Am I? I
Believe
am.
so. Believe so, yeah. If everything's as it is right now. Yeah.
Mm.
All right, so then the gods chapter. That's 416 to the very end of 420. We see the return of Sayla in Limbo. We also get to see Hope in Limbo reuniting with Landon one last time, so we think. Then we meet Lynn, which is the fairy man or fairy woman in true form, where she offers Landon the role of being her replacement. Also,
Mhm.
that's when Ken makes that deal with Cleo, only she refuses and ends up with Caleb's death. And then we get the Super Squad fighting off against Ken in the 19th episode, and then the school closing in the 20th in the final episode. Your thoughts
Hands down, rewatch worthy.
for that one?
Just because you get to see Landon in Limbo again. That is honestly my all-time favorite scenes throughout the show. Just Limbo, seeing the production value on that, like the set, and kind of seeing the fairy woman kind of like be the fairy woman and
Mm-hmm.
him accepting being the fairy man. And that actually gives like if they do end up
It gave
rebooting.
purpose. It gave purpose
Yeah,
as to why we were seeing Landon in Limbo to begin with.
yeah. And it gives the opportunity that maybe if they do a season 5, they have the opportunity to do season 5 that they could potentially bring him back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have him as like him losing feelings, like emotion, but he still has somewhat of
He knows
something.
them. Yeah, he
Yeah,
knows what they're supposed to be, but he doesn't feel them as intensely anymore.
yeah, yeah. And you kind of see that with like Hope because he still has something for Hope, even though
But
he's like
that's the
slowly losing.
question, though. That's the question, though. He said when he's on the living plane, his emotions are muted. So when he goes back to limbo, does he still feel them as intensely as they were before?
Oh, that's
Or are they still muted now because he made that deal? That's the one thing I didn't have clarified by the end of the season was whether or not it's only when he just goes and visits Hope in the living world that his emotions are muted and they're not as intense as before because he still knows that he loves her. He just
no.
doesn't
I think the reason why it's like that is because he brought back his
Mm,
friends to the living, and that's why he was losing. He lost a part of himself because you can
mm.
only do that once, and that comes at a price, and
Yeah.
that's his emotions.
They should
So
have changed the line then because he said, while I'm on this plane, which is very misleading then if it's meant to be always it's now muted.
oh yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. I didn't even notice that, but
I
like
don't
I
know.
know that it's because he brought back his friends.
Yeah. I will be honest. I kind of wish like if it was fan fiction, it wouldn't he wouldn't have brought back MG or Caleb or Jed in that moment. If any
Really?
no, just because I'm thinking like if fan fiction, no limits, whole bar, it would have been Klaus. Before we found out that he found peace, it would have been Klaus in limbo, finding out that like, oh, Hope needs my help. get me back over there one last time so I can help my daughter and kick this guy who's trying to kill her, kind of a thing. And then I'll go back to like dying or something. Like he would have found a way to do some kind of body possession thing just so that he can fight alongside her one last time. And then he could get back Caleb's body or something and then just move forward from there and then have them have their moment of peace. Because that's one thing where, like, yes, I'm happy we got Klaus's message in the finale, but I'm also kind of pissed that it looked like a Zoom call.
Yeah, I was
It,
kind of pissed about that
it's
too.
like I was hoping, like, I get why Joseph was off filming for Titan. I'm not going to say anything else from that, but he couldn't be in, I believe they film in Atlanta. So he couldn't be there. So it makes sense that they would have had to do a kind of like a Zoom kind of session. But then at the same time, a part of me kind of wished that he could actually be physically in the location with Danielle so that Klaus and Hope could actually have a moment together and not just her reacting off of his performance and him not reacting to her. That's my only downside. It's like, yes, I'm very appreciative of him having the time to record that message, but I know fan fiction wise, I would have wanted to have like a reason for him to actually be in the same space as
Hmm.
Hope and then go back. That's
Hmm.
kind of what kind of wanted, hoping that he'd kind of jump in on the fight to kind of help out. It's kind of like a you don't mess with my daughter kind of thing, or like I'm Klaus Michelson type of an entrance against Ken.
Yeah,
But
but like, wouldn't like if he was brought back to the, the land of the living, wouldn't he have the opportunity to just stay alive?
yeah, but then at the same time, I was thinking more of the body possession because like you kind of know how when in season 2 of the originals when Cole possessed Caleb and then Finn possessed Vincent when their original bodies were still dead. I was thinking more of like something like that happening
Oh, okay,
where
yeah,
like
yeah.
he would technically go into either probably in Caleb's body or MG's body because they have the whole immortality thing with them. And he would just tag along in them and take control and then do what he can with the skills that he knows a vampire body can do to kind of help Hope out.
But he
And
wouldn't be as powerful because he's not a hybrid.
yeah, that's the only thing because yeah, that's kind of tricky. So it's either he can go to Caleb's body, be half dragon, or he can just go to MG's body and just know the full capacity of what a vampire could do versus someone who's only 18 years old would know versus 1,000-year
Yeah,
old.
but he can go to Caleb's body because he's half dragon.
Yeah, but he wouldn't know the aspects of being a dragon. That's
He
the
could
only thing.
try.
Yeah, he could try, but then I had to think of like then he defeats it, and then in his last moments of being in control of the body, he would have had that moment of hope. Yes, it wouldn't have been Clout, like it wouldn't have been Joseph doing that scene, but character wise, it would have been Klaus with hope, and that would have been
Yeah.
something where that final goodbye could have been. But I know that is not what they would have done. I was also surprised though that the fight happened in the 19th episode because then like everything was concluded. Like, what are they going to do for the 20th episode? What are they going to do for the finale? Like, so it's just like I felt like the finale, like, yes, you kind of wrapped up a few things, but I also felt like you kind of either took too long wrapping up a few things. Where it's like you either took too long for how much you did for the very few special guest stars I got. In comparison to the Vampire Diaries, like you kind of have a huge competition against because Vampire Diaries brought back 10 familiar faces in the finale. And this one I
Yeah.
got two. A great two, but like still, in comparison, that's nothing.
I did not like the ending image, like the ending scene.
With Hope
Oh,
welcoming the other students.
yeah, I just didn't like it.
Mm. I
I
get
think it
like
was,
I get they want an open ending, but at the same time, it's kind of like I would have rather her be surrounded by the people who like she came to know as family. Like I get it's
yeah,
her welcoming the new people, but at the same time, it's like I would have loved it if Josie came back. Would have loved it with her family being there to say like, "Hey, we're checking in with you." It was great that Caroline came back, but I kind of wanted a moment between her and Hope talking about Klaus and like maybe both of them being there when she like did the ashes, but Landon was there, so that was something. But yeah,
yeah,
it was a mixed thing for me. But out of like the gods chapter, with it being more focused on Ken, I think do I have room for great? I think that would be going in my great. I think I have room for great, right?
yeah, I think so.
I think I'm maxed out on great then.
Yeah.
All right. Whoops. Wrong spot. Yeah, I'd put it in great for me. And that maxes me out. So then, yeah. Did you have any final thoughts for the gods chapter since you put it in rewatch already?
How many do I have? I'm fully booked for the rewatch worthy, right?
I think you're fully max because
Okay.
you have the triad chapter, you have the humanity chapter, or you switch that. You have your
Yeah.
aurora chapter, and then you have your gods chapter as your rewatch.
Yeah, which is to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like this chapter a lot because, I got to see different aspects
Mm-hmm.
of Landon. Not that I have before, but I get to see like there's potential.
Yeah, it
Even
was
though the
going
show's
somewhere.
canceled.
It was going
Yeah,
somewhere for him.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's potential for season 5. With like Landon,
Mm-hmm.
him coming back to life maybe as something, or like maybe if they do a season 5, they could do like kind of like him being the bridge like they did in Bonnie for like Vampire Diaries.
That is true with her being the anchor.
Yep.
That is
They
true.
could do that with Landon for season 5 if they like find a way. If they end up doing a season 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that a lot because I was really, really upset that they were like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
forbidden
I,
because
I will say this. I'm kind of glad they were told because I assumed if anything they would get season 5 and that would be announced as the final season, kind of like how the Vampire Diaries and the originals announced that the next one was going to be the final season. So I thought that's what they were going to get, but
yeah, same. That's what I thought
knowing
too.
knowing that they were told at the start of them planning season 4 to account for making the finale a series finale, I'm glad they had that in mind because I'm actually okay with the way that it ended. So
Yeah.
it's like it wasn't some crazy cliffhanger. Like if it was a season 1 finale that we got, if it ended like that, then that would have been like a huge kind of an outrage from me kind of a thing. But the fact that they kind of left it open ended, they left everyone alive. They left everybody who was supposed to be endgame with each other, or a sense that they could be endgame later on, was
Hmm.
something there. But yeah, I think and we got to see at least Caroline and Klaus again and see because that's the thing too. If season 5, that means Caroline would have been back for season 5 as headmaster
Yeah.
or headmistress, and then Alaric being gone, or maybe like coming back and going kind of a thing. But yeah, but to tie it
He's
all
getting
off,
older, so
yeah, but he's
I don't
also
know. I don't
huge.
know how much he's gonna like. He's gonna be willing to play the character.
That's true too. But at least they didn't kill him off. But
That's true.
but for what are your top 5 for the season?
All right, glad that you asked. Okay, so my top 5 is episode one, like number 1 is episode 18, and that's when Landon becomes the ferryman. I really like
Okay.
that. That was my favorite. Um, yes. Number 2 is episode 15. Everyone from the originals comes to visit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think it's where
You got Cole, you got Marcel, you got Freya and
yeah.
Rebecca.
Yeah, it's where they have like that meal.
Yeah. At Klaus's funeral.
Yeah. Yeah. And then number 3 is episode 4. It's where Hope kills Landon and Hope becomes like a tribrid.
Mm-hmm. Or yeah, kill
Yeah.
Malivore Landon.
Yeah. And then number 4 is episode 19. Landon sends his friends back to the living.
Sensing a Landon theme here.
Yep. Yep. I just really like his character, and I'm like so kind of like the reason why I like this season so much is like again the production. And I felt like I felt like his character was really well written in season 4 for like being like potential to come back in season 5. And I think he just had like a lot of fun with it looked like his character had a lot of fun in Limbo with Alaric and the Necromancer, Ted, his mom.
He found his own peace, it looked like.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I liked it so much, and that's why like Landon's like episodes are like my top 10 because I just really liked how it was really well written. Yeah. And my last one is like episode 5, and that's the cameo of Rebecca.
Mhm. Awesome. I also could point out for Landon, at least, what I liked about the Limbo one was just because we got to see Landon be Landon. Like he wasn't tied to Hope, he wasn't her love interest, or he wasn't tied to
Exactly.
Raphael. It was nice to see who he was. I would have liked it if he got to learn more about the Phoenix part of him or find a way to reclaim
Yeah.
that just to get more history to know why was I a Phoenix? Kind of like that kind of a dive. I mean, if anything, someone in Limbo has to know
Yeah,
why.
that's what I was gonna mention. Like they could have like found a way that maybe someone
Maybe
um
Lynn. Maybe Lynn would have known. The fairy woman. Maybe she would have known. She was a god, so why
yeah,
not?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, she would have had to have known that she would have had to ferry across the dead part of him that was a phoenix, right? When he first died. So I don't know. But for my favorites, kind of a few similar ones. My first one has to be 415 with the Michelson reunion. Not only just the fact of how much screen time we got Hope with Freya and Rebecca and Marcel, even. I'm a little bummed that we didn't get much of Cole with her, but
Yeah.
they,
And what's and his wife, her other
oh,
name,
Davina. Yeah.
Davina.
Yeah. Um, but it would have been nice to see a bit more with him because they did have that nice phone call, video call in season 5 between Cole and Hope. But I'm
And
glad
you were
that, yeah, I'm glad a good 3/4 of that episode was about the Michelsons, or at
yes.
least when Hope was concerned, it was about the Michelson family and who she talked to. But I also kind of like that that was the episode where we got to see Hope fighting herself, like No Humanity Hope and Humanity Hope fighting
Hmm.
each other, and how that like she literally staked her No Humanity self, and like how she did it was uh pretty cool. I think that is the one where the CGI didn't really affect me much because it was literally them fighting and you can easily get a stunt double in there. Um, but I enjoyed that episode a lot. My next one, my number 2 has to be 403, which was Hope's last day as a human. So not only did we get
Hmm.
Freya coming back, but she got this whole last dinner with everybody at the school, like her
Yeah.
found family at the school, kind of similar to Klaus's last meal in the finale of the originals. Um, it was just nice, all the different stories. We got to see them recall past episode events that have happened, but also got some new tidbits in there as well. And then, of course, we got that huge portion with Freya definitely spending a lot more time with Hope this time in the episode and actually talking about like her parents and Elijah and what it felt like to be turned into a vampire, and then
Hmm.
getting the match of like Rebecca wishes she would be here, but she wouldn't have made it in time. So I really like that. The only downside of it was Caleb kidnapping her at the very end, but otherwise that episode was like a solid
Yeah.
one that I would have liked. Which leads into my third favorite, which is Rebecca's episode 405, actually having her encounter a No Humanity Hope and realizing and bringing mention of like comparisons, and just also seeing her try to dagger her and it not working, and then just like just seeing where they're at, because again that is the first time in a long time we've seen Rebecca with Hope, um, since that final meal, really, with Klaus. So it was also interesting to learn where she has been as well over the last 3 years.
Hmm.
And they mentioned that in the reunion as well, that it has been 3 years since Klaus died, which also baffles me too, because that means the whole span of Legacies took course of a span of a year, which it did not. There's no way that it took over a course of a year, because from the original's finale when Klaus died to the Legacy's premiere, it's supposed to be 2 years have passed. So then from Rebecca's comment in 415 that it's been 3 years since Klaus died, that means you're telling me from episode 101 to episode 4/15. It's been a year.
But how old was Hope in originals? Because she was 14.
No, she was 15.
She was 15? I
Yeah,
think
because she was 7 years old. She was supposed to be 7 or 8 when we got season 4 Hope.
yeah.
And then so if it was still 7 years, right, between season 4 and season 5, she would have been 14, but that means she would have started Legacies at 16 because it's been 2 years later.
Yeah, she's 17.
But that also doesn't track though, because again, we know the birth year for Hope, as well as we know the birth year for Lizzie and Josie, because they were born on the Vampire Diaries. And
Yeah.
they are supposed to be just under 2 years younger than Hope.
Younger than Hope?
Yeah, the twins are younger than Hope.
I thought they were older.
No, they were younger.
No.
Yeah.
I always thought they were older because the Vampire Diaries.
No, they are younger because, but also you have to remember the Vampire Diaries had different time jumps than the originals. So it's the date of their, because since they were both born on screen, like I think the twins were born in season 7 of the Vampire Diaries, and Hope was born at the end of season 1 of the originals. And season 1 of the originals is supposed to take place in season 5 of the Vampire Diaries. So season 5, then season 6 happened, and then partway through season 7 was when the time jump happened, but they were born before the time jump happened. So that's at least 2 years right there.
Mm-hmm.
Or TV wise, it's 2 years, but I know it's less when you look at the calendar. But that's when, but the show covered both the twins' 16th and 17th birthdays, if it's actually their birthday. So that's at least more than a year. And yet you tell me that Legacies took course over a span of a year.
No.
And it didn't.
Yeah.
So my continuity brain right there is like, no, but that doesn't take away from the fact that 1, 2, 3 of my favorites. So episode 4 to get back on track, or my 4th favorite is episode 9, which is when Hope and Aurora switch bodies, or they switch back into their bodies. It's also the episode where Hope kills Lizzie. But it's also the episode where Lizzie has that speech trying to appeal to Hope's humanity, and it looked like it worked, only to find out it didn't, and she kills her.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a good one.
That was my favorite because I didn't think they'd actually go there. Like, yeah, it's been teased about how having one of the twins become a vampire could stop the merge from happening. But of course, they've teased in the past that neither one of them wanted to be a vampire. During the Sebastian storyline, Lizzie said she did not want to be a vampire. So the fact that they actually went there was kind of a shock for me. But also they did it at a good time because I was right before the holidays. So it's like I had to wait like 6 weeks to find out how Lizzie was going to react to being a vampire and such. But it was also the episode where it was Josie's last episode. So that's not the reason why I like it, but that is a huge reminder of like, that is the one where she kind of leaves. So like,
yeah,
a downside for that. And then my 5th favorite has to be episode 14, 414. And that is the episode where we got to see the battle strategy with Professor Vardamus and that machine him and Wade were using to kind of figure out a battle plan to defeat Ken.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of like their own chessboard kind of a situation.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool because then we
Yeah.
got to see what kind of skills they were putting on the table, what kind of dynamics helped them versus which one hurt them, and then to see how much of a difference Hope with her humanity and Hope without her humanity made the fight in their favor versus not. So that was a pretty interesting one that I pretty much liked, but it was kind of tricky trying to figure out which ones to kind of zero in on, because they had a lot of good moments in season 4. I feel like it finally found its ground with the pacing, at least for like the serial. It was like going back to like the Vampire Diaries serialized aspect of it, but I feel like it was like a realization too late, kind of a thing. But the timeline mussed over.
Goddamn.
But from that, all right, so let's try to remember what we had. So from my calculations for my rewatch, I had the Phoenix chapter. I also had the Aurora chapter and the Humanity chapter as my rewatch worthy. Well, do you remember yours?
I had for my rewatch, I had the tribal chapter, and then I had the Aurora chapter,
Hmm.
and then I had the God chapter, which was
So we have the
nice.
Aurora one in common.
Yes.
All right, that's very cool. All right, so then for great, uh, based off of this, I have the Dark Josie chapter. I had the Cleo chapter, and then I think that was it. Oh,
Um,
the Gods chapter. I had the Gods chapter. No, yes, in my greats as
really?
well.
Oh yeah. Oh my
I
God.
think so, yeah, because it's a little trickier now. I think that one I put as great, the
I
God
still think
chapter.
I still think it would have been for both of us rewatch worthy. Like that was a really good chapter.
It's close there. It's close, but you had the
I I had the Phoenix chapter and I had Dark Josie chapter. That was a really, really good one.
hmm
And then yeah,
you had
Phoenix.
did you have another one? You had isn't your humanity one also in the great?
Oh yeah, and the humanity one is good too. Yeah, I had that one
Great,
too.
great. Good's a different category. It's in the great chapter.
Great. Wait, did I?
Yeah, you had 405 based on my list. You have it as great, not as good.
405.
Humanity chapter, when the first part when she had no humanity on.
Oh, sorry, I meant to put it in great.
Yeah, that's
Did I
that's
say
what
good?
yeah.
Oh,
That's
I
it's
meant
like
great.
it's like, oh, I have my notes on good. Okay.
No, no, it's great. I meant great.
Okay, so then based off of this, I have for good the Malivore chapter, the Triad chapter, and the end of Malivore chapter.
Hmm.
That kind of tracks. It's all Malivore related.
Yeah,
All right.
I
And then
have for me, I have the Malivore chapter. I
mhm,
have Cleo chapter,
mhm.
and then I have the end of Malivore for good.
So we both have end of Malivore and the beginning of Malivore
Yeah,
being in the same.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
That tracks. That tracks. Kind of the end of the one big storyline and the ending of that one big storyline.
Yep.
Okay. It had its moments. Thankfully, it's all up on screen for us. So I had the memory chapter, the necromancer chapter, and the resurrection chapter, all from season or what was supposed to be all of season two's mostly storyline. You had,
We have the same thing.
yeah, we do. Interesting. So that's at least tells us season two was not our favorite.
Yeah, not our favorite. I think my all-time favorite would be season 4.
Yeah. And then, of course, both of us had myth being the Landon chapter. Sorry, Landon, but
Yeah, sorry.
you had 6 episodes where you were stuck in Malivore and we had no idea where you were, and we were stuck with a fake version of you.
Yeah.
So there's
And
that.
what monster of the week was it? Oh,
I
wait, no.
for all in general, like our favorite monster of the week was that, or like for
No,
Landon,
no, no.
was the monster of
For
the
the
week?
Lion chapter, like while he was in Malabar, wasn't there like monster of the week too?
There was
I always,
there was a leprechaun, a pink
oh
gremlin,
my
a
God.
banshee. I have a Croatoan, but I only remember Supernatural's version of a Croatoan, not Legacy's version. And that was the thing too. I did a video before after season one had ended, just comparing which monsters they covered and which ones I already had seen through Supernatural, covering those same monsters.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's all duplicates. So now it's just me realizing which version of it do I like. So that was an
Yeah.
interesting kind of a
I feel like
comparison
Supernatural
there.
would be like a darker tone of the monster because of
Yeah,
its.
yeah, for sure. But sometimes it might be like visually, I like maybe the legacy version of it, but I like the history of it from Supernatural or vice versa. So
Hmm.
it kind of really depended. Like for me, I prefer the Vampire Diaries versions of a vampire or Supernatural's version of the vampire. Because for them, it's like they have a mouthful of teeth, sharp teeth, like a shark instead of just the fangs. So it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, that's distinctly different, but it's like I'm more the fang kind where like
Yeah,
I'm used to
same.
that being the vampire, but it's definitely distinctly different. But after, I mean, video is a lot longer. And I warned you people, if you're still listening, that it would be a lot longer. But were you surprised by how your rankings are, or by which ones actually matched between us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that surprised that season two that we matched because we did talk about it earlier,
Mhm.
before we went on call. That season two was just not the greatest.
Yeah, and a part of me kind of wonders if pandemic, I mean, like the writing of it was before the pandemic, but I'm wondering the delay of it is either what saved it or kind of delayed it for them to like kind of rework it.
I don't think the COVID pandemic is what saved the season or
Mhm.
whatever.
Or I
I
mean,
think
like
it,
more of like delay it because they had to rethink everything after that, and they had more time to do it too.
yeah, no, I think COVID would have, I think if we didn't have COVID, I think Legacies would have at least gotten a season five.
I'd hope so. I would like to think so, but I feel like also they should have adapted their stories after finishing season two. Like when they
Yeah.
went back into the writer's room for season three, I feel like they should have attributed the fact that, like, yes, maybe they're giving us the episode 20 count, but let's not take it. We still have the four from the previous season. Let's actually
Hmm.
work with the original 16 and
Yeah.
actually get back on track with how you're supposed to end the season instead of carrying it over to the next season. Because I think
See,
that messed with me, knowing that those four episodes were supposed to be part of the previous season. I didn't have any worries. Like if you died, you're coming back next week. I don't have to wait too long. There was no
yeah.
urgency or like that rush that you would get in the summer wondering when's the next spoiler coming out? What's happening here? What's going on?
See, the way I think of it is how they should have done it is I feel like season one and season two would have been um the Malibor chapter, and they could have just ended it in season two, and then season three would have been season four, right? And then they could come up with like, you know, the potential idea of bringing Landon back and kind of making him like the anchor, like what they did in Bonnie with Bonnie in Vampire Diaries for season four.
Yeah.
That's what I think how they should have like structured the show. And it would have
Yeah.
made the show a lot more better. Um, and would have it would have made the show a lot more enjoyable to watch instead of like with like what they did with a lot of fillers. Monster of the Week, I did not like that.
Yeah. I mean,
I just didn't think it fit with the world of the Vampire Diaries, considering
mhm,
it's a spin-off from the Vampire Diaries. I don't
yeah.
think it was smart of them to have Monster of the Week just because they want to be different
Mhm.
from the originals and the Vampire Diaries. I think they could have stuck with like being serialized.
Yeah, I think I like how they did it in season four, where it was like every few episodes had a new monster.
Yeah,
I feel like they should have started that. Like it made sense in the very beginning how a bunch of monsters were coming after them. Then like okay, but like you didn't have to have it every episode. You could have
yeah,
had it where it's like, especially with the way that their time passes for these characters, they don't have a week in between each episode. It's usually the following day afterwards. So like
mhm,
theoretically, these characters are facing these monsters back to back to back,
yeah,
and they don't get a day's break. It's like they're dealing with exams straight for 2 weeks, kind of a
mhm,
thing. There's like no
mhm.
break for them. So it's like I feel like they could have, excuse me, they could have
I see.
spaced it out. Um, but yeah, I definitely agree that season two should have ended the Malivore chapter because usually a lot of the times TV shows always end, or at least they try to fix that main story that kept people going. They try to
Yeah,
finish it by the end of season two, if they're lucky to get a season two.
yeah,
And then they've started something brand new in season three. So I feel like the only thing I really liked about season three that I would have wanted to keep was the introduction of Cleo. So if they had found some way to introduce her in season two and go through all of that, kind of like merging season two and three together in some
yeah,
way.
because her story does make sense and it does fit with the Malibor story.
Hmm.
So they could have like they're writers. So they have a bunch of people on in these writing rooms. So they could have come up with some way to keep that story, well, Cleo's story within season two and finishing Malibor within season two.
I'm wondering though if the number of episodes would have affected because of course with Vampire Diaries and the originals, they both started their shows with 22 episodes, while
Yeah.
Legacy started with 16. So I'm wondering if they also had the opportunity to do 22 episodes. I feel like having it finished in season one and season two for Malivore would have been more better of a fit because even with originals, it had 22 episodes for the first three seasons, and then it went down to 13 for the last two seasons.
Yeah.
So like it is possible to have a change in episodes later on, but I'm wondering if
Yeah.
they're trying to pack too many in one season or too many in many different seasons, just kind of spreading it out more than they need to.
Hmm.
So it's also kind of interesting now though, because we've seen the full story, if there's any different way we would have packed it. Like us knowing like what we were trained for TV writing, if there was any way for us as fans to figure out where we would have had the story peak or where we had it, if it would have been any different, or if it's just us saying it to just blow smoke up our butts, of us being able to do it better, or if there's actually a way to have actually shortened it and make it more consistent and more impactful with the fewer episodes.
Yeah, I mean, there would have been a way. I think I obviously think that there could have been like a way where they had like what 22 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes like obviously their episodes change per season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there would have been an opportunity for them to have um 20 episodes or 22 episodes within the second season to kind of like also fit Cleo's story and end the Malivore chapter the right way with like kind of also exploring Landon's Phoenix story as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think doing it that way, it would have made the show a lot more serialized,
Mm-hmm.
um, which would have fit a lot with the Vampire Diaries, you
Which
know?
I feel like it fits better with the storytelling of this world because it's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
like in comparison to Supernatural, which is very episodic, like monster of the week. It follows that structure, but for them, it's not about the monster they face. It's about the two guys and only the two guys, and maybe the one uh, special guest star that comes in each episode that
Yeah,
they focus on. But for
yeah.
here, you have a full ensemble cast of characters, and you're still also trying to get to know them while also trying to get to know this new monster that doesn't ever come back again. Like at least with Supernatural, the creatures do come back and reoccur, just with different faces, but with still from the same species. But with
Hmm.
with this show, it's like a one and done type of deal. Plus, also which we talked about throughout the ranking was that there are just some chapters where there's just too many episodes attached to it, and like you said, there are fillers. So like even the beginning Malivore chapter, it's like, do I really need 7 episodes to explain it? Like I don't think I really do. Or with the memory chapter, do I need 8 episodes to deal
Oh
with
God.
nobody remembering Hope? I could have done it in 4, or I could have been fine with 5. And or you can combine a few episodes together and kind of merge certain things as well too to make it fit. But that's like all hearsay, right? Us nitpicking and finding what we like and what we don't like, but it could be very different from what's actually in the writer's room when it happens, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So
It's like there are some episodes that were like really, really dumb. Like the what's it called? The video game episode where there's
that one, 205.
yeah,
205 for that
did
one.
not like that one.
It's a great moment for Lizzie and Hope to
Yeah,
bond. But then at the
it
same time, it's like you could have added that to it. Like I feel like with that one, because Minotaur, isn't that part of Greek mythology?
I thought, I don't know. I don't
It,
know.
it's part of some type of mythology. So I that
Hmm.
so it's like that would have been better off connected to the God storyline.
Hmm.
Like if it
Hmm.
was like mythology based like that, or at least you had it seated there of the deity of the gods being something of an existence. But again, that's like 4 years previously, right? So it's like not fully in it. But yeah. Otherwise, any final thoughts, Amber? Because I don't know if the people know this, but we are past midnight for us in recording
Yes.
this.
Yes, you are. And I'm like, I'm like trying to stay awake.
Final thoughts. Final thoughts, Amber.
Um, Honestly, I just feel like they could have done a lot better with the series.
Mhm.
And like I said before, they could have ended this like the Malivore story was at season two. Push season four into season three, and then we have the potential for Landon to come back as the anchor. That's I think that's what the series would have been like for
Mhm.
me. It would have been enjoyable for me as an audience member. Um, I think season four, like it, because like I was reading an article and a lot of people do like agree that like season one and season three was kind of uneven, and season four was like the one that like the creators kind of finally found their footing for the
Mhm.
story. But I feel like the reason why it was so uneven is because obviously they prolonged Malivore for so long, and if they didn't do that, I think the show would have been a lot better.
Mhm.
I think if they tried to, I think if they focused less on trying to be unique from um, originals and Vampire Diaries, and just stick to like the serialized episodes that kind of fit with being a spinoff
Mhm.
from the Vampire Diaries, I think it would have like fit a lot better and would have been a lot more better for viewers to kind of see that Legacies does have the potential to be as good as the Vampire Diary and the originals.
Yeah, because part of the reason why people stuck around for spin-off, I think, is because the mythology that was created in the Vampire Diaries and the originals, and the fact that it is the legacy we are seeing the continuation, especially with Lizzie, and Josie from the history of the two previous shows.
Yeah.
And then to see how that interacts with the next generation and seeing their interactions and like how they deal with regular drama at the supernatural school and how they make friends. How do they cross over that divide that originally separated them, or at least separated the previous generation, with the vampires hating the werewolves and then the witches not even working with either one, and then you have a school filled with them. How did you get to that unified point where,
Hmm.
so that would have been a lot interesting for me, but I know that might not be the most dramatic or action packed to watch, but sometimes it can be just seeing those differences come together. They could have had a lot more potential for that too, I find. So I definitely agree that it's a lot of things. Like, I'm kind of surprised they made it Monster of the Week. I was definitely hesitant when
Yeah.
they announced that. But what's done is done, and it was still a show we enjoyed, or at least I could say I still enjoyed it. It had its ups and downs where I still
Yeah, for
was
sure.
glad to have nostalgic moments to Vampire Diaries in the originals, and wondering and kind of having all that history drawn back whenever, like when Jed was resurrected and not a werewolf again. Completely forgot that that happened to Tyler, so I was glad to have, like, oh yeah, they did a callback for that. It's like, that's pretty cool. So like that was something there though. But otherwise, guys, that is gonna be pretty much it today. My throat is going, and I know Amber is also tired as well too.
My eyes are like drooping.
So we're going to end the video right there, but we are also interested in hearing what you guys thought about your own ranking system. If you tagged along, or if you decided to rank it your own way, let us know in the comments down below. We'd love to know which storylines or chapters were your own favorites. If you just want to do the full season, one, two, three, four, which ones you like, we'd love to hear about that too. All thoughts are welcomed here, but again, everybody's own opinion is their own. No opinion is correct. It's also just fun seeing who had similar viewpoints and just who had different ones. Like today, it was surprising for us to realize we had some chapters ranked the same way and others were just completely opposite from each other, which is totally cool. And then hearing about why that was the case was definitely a joy in itself. At least for me, I can't speak for Amber, can I?
It was very enjoyable. I really liked it. This was a very fun experience. I hope to be a part of this, this series again. You do this and again with another episode that we both watch. I think that would be fun to do again.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely open for that. But to tie things off, guys, so comment down below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out my other videos. I'll put either the Legacies playlist in the card above, or it'll be listed down below for you to check out and you want to just catch up to all the reaction recaps I had for this show. Or if you want to go back to the very, very beginning and do Vampire Diaries and the originals, those would be down as well below too. Otherwise, if you want, you can check out my Tumblr page. Link for that is down below. Anything I post online is connected to Tumblr, a little more organized, a little more detailed, but still a work in progress there. Same with WordPress. Link for that is also down below. I do have to catch up. I've been meaning to dedicate a day just to Tumblr and WordPress updates now that Legacies is over, but I have yet to find that day. But just be on the lookout if you want to follow me over there. And I think that is about everything. And if you want to see Amber again, comment down below. And then, or
yeah,
if you want to suggest something you think we might both like, maybe we might see if it's something we would want to check out together. Maybe do something. If you want to do your suggestions for that down below, but definitely look into that as well too, and try to see what we could do. But otherwise, that is all today. We're going to call it a night. But otherwise, this is Mel and our good buddy Amber signing
bye.
off tonight. And I guess it's going to be a while before we talk about legacies again. So
Yeah,
take care,
that's true.
guys. Bye.
Bye. See you.